The room. Thank you for joining us today for a discussion with Nayanika Natesh from the NAD studio. It's a pleasure to have you around, Nayanika, and looking forward to listening more about you.
Thank you so much, sir.
I would like to introduce Nayanika Natesh, a very young architect who passed out from Acharya School of Architecture and who has worked with various places, including she's done a training on bamboo works at Bali and also worked with Arup and even Mr. Manjunath, BN Manjunath, who is a structural engineer in Bangalore. So, who's a very sensitive structural engineer, I would say. And it's a pleasure to know more about what Nayanika does, and looking forward to hear more about your journey, Nayanika. Over to you, Nayanika.
Thank you so much, sir. So good evening, everybody. Today I'm going to be talking about my journey in architecture, earth and bamboo in specific. So I grew up learning pottery and dance, which lent me a deep appreciation for creative expression through movement. Stepping into architecture as a student, I couldn't help but notice similarities between architecture and pottery. Pottery to me is essentially miniature architecture. They both study and articulate volumetric space defined by its interiors and exteriors. Usually, the interiors are functionally focused and the exteriors are ornamental. Buildings in pottery also share a sense of containment typified by entrances, exits, the space of containment within them, and the flow of movement within them. Being the dance nerd that I am, it was only a matter of time before I saw a correlation between dance and architecture. They both use the same language of shape and form, using material and space to define themselves. The textures, colors, and rhythms coalesce to form grand ideas while fading into the foundational background. I believe that dance frames architecture, directing the eye of the observer to the body forms as they juxtapose in their setting, and sometimes vice versa. The audience sometimes do not participate in the dance moves themselves, but nevertheless, they experience the rhythm of every step just by the act of watching it. In the much same way, the forms and rhythms of architecture can be experienced just by walking through the space and being in it. The creative process as any art form is synergistic. The maker creates the work, and the work informs the maker. The ideas that inspire a project might be conceived in the mind, but the end product is not. My interest in architecture began when I accompanied my cousin to volunteer at a hands-on build project. Do you ever remember as kids when you wanted to jump into the mud puddle and get all dirty, but we'd always get yelled at from the elders when we did so? Well, this was my chance to do without anybody stopping me, and I fell in love with Mother Earth. I played a very small part in this building. Discarded tires, glass bottles, tins, cans were used to build the walls. I'd never come across anything like this before. This is where I learned and understood spatial planning, marking, leveling, few construction details, etc. This project helped me understand the nuances and the role of an architect in the real actual world. Building with mud helped me appreciate an alternate style of life. Throwing balls of mud and kneading them into shape with your bare hands and feet, getting in close contact with earth, the mother material, and working in fresh air is a healthy activity for every individual in any sense. This is definitely the polar opposite of a conventional RCC building. Because of the sculptural qualities, corp structures tend to be quirky, individualistic, and organic and beautiful on its own. Sitting magnificently on top of these mountains, she breathes the air in the morning gloopy mist. This is a world of peace. It is also a world of hope. This is an earthship. After the experience, I wanted to participate in more hands-on workshops. A friend of mine told me about Auroville, and this was my escape from university. Interaction with other designers, architects, interior designers, fashion designers, permaculturists, artists, environmentalists, and others was a complete new learning. These experiences unquestionably helped me with getting another point of view of life experiences to architecture and design. Today, I will be showing you a project from Sacred Groves and the Bamboo Auroville Center. When I volunteered at Sacred Groves, I was working on a project that was designed to be a model of ecologically sensitive construction methods. The Sacred Groves project offers an alternative model of construction by reusing waste building rubble. It was around in and around the sites of Auroville and Pondicherry to construct houses made of earth concrete, a much less cement intensive building material. Recycling wood from packing crates, and we reuse discarded petrol pump pipes for shuttering. In the Auroville Bamboo Center, which is another school of thought which influenced me, there is more than 1,500 species of bamboo in the world, which grows naturally on almost all continents. Even then, there is some resistance to use this material since it requires different ways of thinking and breaking of certain paradigms that are strongly rooted in architecture. One of them is the fear of using the material in its rough form, with its irregularities and natural form, where the beauty of the bamboo lies. So the first project I would want to showcase to you all today is 682 Kutira. Kutira in Kannada means a simple building and often made of mud and wood. The project is located in suburban areas of Bangalore. The site measures 50 by 80 feet, with the shorter side facing the road along the southern edge. The concept for the house was to try our level best to not add to the waste created by the construction industry, but to reuse the discarded material. This would help reduce the carbon footprint. To achieve this, we made the bricks at site from the earth excavated for foundation and the sump tank. The weekend home designed for the couple who wanted to use their properties to grow as much greens, veggies, and fruits. The brick house occupies a land parcel of 650 square feet on the suburban edge. The slightly sloping site created an interesting opportunity to evoke a feeling of living in a hinterland. The living, with its large volume, is designed as a public node surrounded by built space on one side, garden, and courtyard on the other side. The east-west orientation of the living space welcomes the warm morning sun. The cooking, dining, and sleeping areas are aligned to the south and west of the site to protect the living area from the direct sun. The entry gateway to the house is a steel gate framed within steel columns. Both the steel columns and the steel gate were bought from another site where these materials were discarded as waste. On either side of the gate, the user is welcomed by two beautiful bougainvilleas. The gate for this house is a steel panel that was used to cover the generator set. The house is also an attempt to create a level of privacy within the urban environment where the users could interact with each other and nature as playfully as possible. This would help them keep all the informal layers of life inside and take a pause from the busy life. The house is conceived as an introvert form with a solid mass of brick that stands still and bold from the outside. The dynamic play of light and volumes is revealed only when you enter the house inside. The living is designed considering the intuitive usage of space with inbuilt seating to go beyond the normative idea of formal living spaces. There are three types of seating provided in this area: seating at the bay window, which is the formal seating, the L shaped step down at the living, which becomes the informal seating space, and some loose furniture. The different types of fenestrations help to enjoy the green space surrounding the living area, and smaller windows on the top of lintel level is for cross ventilation and light. The living area is very compact. The step down gives the volume to the space. Introduction of skylights allows adequate amount of sunlight into the space and helps the living space not look claustrophobic. The house is designed to bring in a sense of intimacy and connection through subtle changes in the scale of various spaces. We looked at the material of modernity, reinforced concrete forming the armature, along with traditional brick forming walls, defining the spaces, and it brings a sense of warmth. The house has become a celebration of imperfection of material substrate and the organic expression of asymmetry conspicuously present throughout, all adding to sensory dynamism. The house was tastefully responded to the potential of its site and the aspirational requirements of the clients to deliver a restrained architectural product, which is both visually capturing as well as functionally efficient and an organic addition to the local milieu. The mezzanine terrace floor is designed to be a green space and is also a spill out space during parties. Instead of having a typical railing or parapet, the parapet was designed to be used as a seater space. The need for dichotomy of spatial constructs was explored as the core content of the house. House of blended pluralities explore spaces of traditional content entwined with the features of modern home. The spatial constructs interact and explore each other through the gardens. I would then like to talk about my work in Bali. The world of bamboo in Bali is mesmerizing. Bamboo structures were swaying within the wind in perfect harmony with nature. Every time the structure swayed, they created a beautiful melody. Designing a bamboo structure challenges the existing paradigms of architecture and enables a future in which designs can be whole, beautiful, and sustainable. Versatility of bamboo is truly unparalleled. The exploration and learning in bamboo begins the moment you touch and feel it. As I began to start making basic physical models, I realized that bamboo cannot be forced to retain certain positions, like how we work with RCC or steel. Bamboo taught me to break the conventional paradigm architecture schools teach us. I had to dive deep to understand the subtle nuances and constraints of bamboo. Unlike in these traditional methods described, bamboo cannot be just straightened or cut arbitrarily to suit any design. The material fundamentally informs the design. The first and basic exercise to start is with bamboo model making. The first exercise was to create forms of an animal or any living creature by using least number of bamboo strips. So my idea was to bring out the form of bull by using bamboo strips as parabolas. The second exercise was to create a lightweight sculptural element. I understood the method of bending bamboo and to what extent you can bend bamboo before they snap. The idea was also to explore curves with bamboo strips. The third exercise was to use bamboo as straight poles. This I like to call a tower of increments. The design objective was to create an interesting pattern, but a structure that could actually be built on site in 10 days. This structure was built as a pavilion to showcase artworks of kids at the Green School. The fourth exercise was to combine curved and straight bamboo members, the infinite loop, I call it. The structure is designed for the play area in Green School. The upward climb marks as the entry-exit points of the play unit, a freestanding structure for the kids to swing, jump, and have fun. The next step in the process after you learn model making and master it is to understand the joinery of bamboo. Well-dimensioned structural nodes are fundamental for the proper transmission of loads in the structure. In buildings constructed of natural materials such as wood or bamboo, this part requires attention and extra work during execution. Bamboo with its variety sections and shapes and dimensions require connections that allow it to move while accommodating its natural shape. An example of a connection is the fish mouth joint. This is a very basic junction between beams and columns. This is another exercise to learn how to carve bamboo. So I used different knives and different curvatures to smoothen the bamboo. Then in this particular exercise, use one nodal length of the bamboo. Carving patterns here is abstract. The beautifully carved pieces can be wall-mounted light fixtures or lamps for the bedside tables. The cutouts in these pieces could be left open or even have cane weaving, a banana paper, or any other material to cover it. This is a furniture that I was experimenting with. This is the yin and yang chair. By using split bamboo, we can create such beautiful modernistic furniture. This is a chair designed for the kids in the green school. The aim was to create a chair the kids could play, also a low and a cozy one. During the planning process, I focused on functionality, pairing with durable form of design and timeless aesthetics. The details of the project were observed according to the opportunity of building it. This is a lounge chair. It is a chair of supreme comfort, I must say, and a chair where a person feels that they can curl up in. The idea was to make the chair look as light as possible and use as less material as possible. And this is a chair that can be used indoors or outdoors, and it would have a unique addition to the space. These are the four furnitures that I designed. So this one that you see here is I just used the skeleton of the bamboo. So when I say the skeleton, it's only the nodes of the bamboo which gives more strength. And this is another experimentation of bending and understanding how to work with bamboo. The next project I'd like to showcase is the retractable yurt. We designed and built a bamboo yurt which can fold like an umbrella and be deployed at any instant. We use bamboo splits and 40 bamboo poles for the roof. The yurt is a parametric structure. This pop-up structure is lightweight and can be just carried by 2 men. This is one of the first structures that I actually built. This is a post and beam construction with a pitched roof. It is a small structure to protect the electrical panels and other services. For every project, a model is first made. The model becomes the blueprint for the structure to be built at site. Ideally, wherever possible in a structure, for ease of work, it is recommended to build the module on the ground, since bamboo is light and it is easy to lift these structures to place them vertically at the required position. For this structure in particular, the foundation is a mix of sand and bioepoxy. This is a concrete-free structure. Every component in the structure can be recycled, reused, or goes back to the earth, leaving no trace of the structure. The columns are 80 diameter bamboo and the other members are 40 diameter. The entire structure is built with Bambusa balcoa, which is a species of the bamboo. The roof cover is terracotta tiles. This is another project where we've used bamboo shell structure. A shell structure is a very lightweight construction technique and derives its strength from the double curvature. Building shell structures with bamboo is one of the best ways to use maximum potential of this material. We can build structures of huge spans without any columns. So the construction process for this is first we created a base for the structure, and then we had the bamboo ring, in which the bamboos would get pinned to. So these were two structures. And then we had main bamboo members defining the form for the bamboo. And we had two structures coming next to each other, and one was circular and one was elliptical. And then we ended up weaving the entire structure for it to be stable. And it also mimics a bird's nest. There is a connecting bridge between both the cocoons, and this is how it looks. So this is the finished project by a lily pond for the participants to relax. This is a bamboo workshop space. The structure is composed of 7 hyperbolic parabolic panels to create a double curved grid shell. These panels are formed from a series of straight bamboo members that generate a curve. Flattened bamboo is placed on top of the bamboo poles to triangulate the structure. Thus, it stabilizes the panels. The structure is a blend of natural and repurposed building material. The next project that I want to talk to you all about is the Roseate Beach Club in Goa. This is right now under construction, and we finished the construction by monsoon. So this is bang at the beach in north of Goa, and the idea is it's got a typical pyramidal roof. It's a post and beam structure where the columns are bent a little bit too because the span is quite a bit. It's a 45-meter by 45-meter square restaurant. And so the roofing is thatch, and we've used bamboo poles for columns and roof. We've used reclaimed wood for flooring, steel box sections for creating the plinth, and concrete as foundation. So this is the construction images of the project currently. There are 8 columns and 7 are up, and we had to build the roof. So I'd like to end my presentation saying, be like the bamboo. The higher you grow, the deeper you bow. Thank you.
Thank you, Nayanika. It was awesome to just see how in the last 2 to 3 years you've addressed so many issues, and I think it's quite imperative that we start looking at products which are considered waste by the general industry to really be a part of our architectural vocabulary, and that's one way we need to really address architecture. So we shall be taking some questions now. One simple question for youngsters, Nayanika. I think
Yeah.
um, what was the process of really going and exploring bamboo in Bali, and what triggered that idea, and what was the process you underwent to go and do a program there, so that if there are any youngsters who would like to go and do a program on bamboo, how do they go about it?
Okay, so I was in Auroville Bamboo Center initially, and it was still new. Bamboo Center in Auroville started in 2009, and I was there from 2010 to 2013. So not a lot of experiments, but bamboo as a material made me feel very curious, and I wanted to learn a lot more. And I came across Green School when I was doing my research, and so they also have bamboo workshops. So that's where I went and did my course in, and I also continued to work with them for a while. As a material, bamboo is very fascinating because you don't know any material that can just bend the way you want it to bend. So, in terms of parametric architecture or any organic shaped forms, you can explore in bamboo, and it's very interesting. And the strength of the bamboo is it's a strong steel. The tensile strength of bamboo is a strong steel, which is great. So and also, there are a lot of prototypes where they're using bamboo members replacing steel in concrete structures. However, these are just prototypes. So, this is something that's fascinated me just to create different forms and explore that part of design.
Excellent. So, I mean, one straight question is, how do you how do you procure bamboo in a place like Bangalore? What are the
Um,
precautions you need to really take in when you want to procure materials in Bangalore?
so, if you want to procure bamboo as a material, you have to first understand when it gets harvested. So when there is a new moon, when there is a no moon, you don't harvest bamboo at around those times because uh, bamboo basically has a lot of water content, and the moon affects water content because of the gravity. So you have to find the right person who knows how to grow bamboo, how to harvest bamboo. And so if there are a lot of farmers who are growing bamboo in Coorg, Sakleshpur, and Kerala, and that is the nearest source to procure.
Okay. So we do have one question from Michael Ojo, who is an architect with Trig Architects. Talking about structural stability, what is the structural stability of bamboo and how far can I withstand the forces of wind, fire, floods, etc.?
Okay, so forces of wind, the bamboo, advantage of using bamboo when in cyclonic conditions or where there's uh, tropical climates mainly, is that the bamboo sways along with the wind. So uh, it will never just collapse because every structure, every member is tied to another member. So it sways with the wind and it's perfect for such conditions. For floods, the foundation again is concrete. Bamboo is never recommended to be directly in contact with the ground when you're building structures, simply because it attracts termites. So concrete is the foundation, and concrete is strong, and we all know that. And fire, it's the same as wood, so it will last for a couple of hours. So it will just help for about 2-3 hours, you can say.
Mr. Mohan, who is the CEO of Infrastructure Equipment Skill Council. Excellent presentation, Anika, very innovative and challenging. Apart from the architectural supremacy, what would be the normal life and cost benefits of a bamboo structure?
The life of a bamboo structure, if designed well, can last easily up to 35-40 years. But of course, it needs yearly maintenance. Like how in a wood structure, uh, you always coat the wood to protect it from termites. You do the same with bamboo, and you always check if the screws are loose and you tighten it. And so there's some little bit of maintenance, but the life itself will come up to 35-40 years. Cost benefits, unfortunately, bamboo is a little expensive in the south of India. Maybe if we wanted to build a structure in the northeast, it would cost way lesser. So, and the cost is mainly because of the artisan skill. So you're paying not that much for the material, but the value the artisan brings and the time that the artisan spends, because the entire structure is handmade.
Excellent.
Yeah.
We also have Edgar Braganza, who is a student of Manipal School of Architecture and Planning. Similar question, lifespan of the bamboo structures. Does the structure need refurbishment after a certain period of time? Um,
Yes, and also, yeah, some bamboos can crack because of change of weather, and um, usually it does not, but sometimes if it does, then those members have to get replaced. And the life, as said, it can, if designed very smartly and well, then it can stay for about 35-40 years.
Excellent. We also have Vishnu Jain, who is the managing director of Stray Archon Design Consultants. Hi, I would like to know what would be the maximum span of any structure built with bamboo, column free.
We can go about easily about 8 meters to 10 meters, but it also depends on the kind of technique that we are using. So I would say about 8 meters or 10 meters. But in India, we have not gone that far yet. In Bali, I have seen structures where there have been column to column about 15 meters, 1-5.
Mhm. Great. Wishing you all the very best for your future, and really looking forward to a lot more of bamboo structures in India. And I'm sure you'll inspire a lot of youngsters who are there in the room to take up bamboo as a construction material. Guys, I think bamboo is one of the most, it's a grass. It's a very
Yes,
strong grass.
yes.
And just imagine
And
that we are going to replace something as energy intensive material as steel with bamboo, which can decompose and then and that's the future. I think, especially for youngsters, I would say look at bamboo as a material of construction and really readdress it and see how you can push it out to a maximum. And it should be great to really see a lot more youngsters taking this up. And I'm happy Nayanika has taken a forefront on this and been doing a lot of work with them. Really wishing you all the very best, Nayanika, and I'm sure you shall do wonders with bamboo in the coming days.
Thank you so much, sir.